On April the 13th, 1970, the crew of the Apollo 13 sent a message to planet Earth that became iconic. Houston, we have a problem. The mission of the Apollo 13 has been historically considered as a successful failure. Today, in our industry, we have to send a similar warning. Corrugated industry, we have a problem. We cannot fail. Cybersecurity is no longer a distant and abstract threat. It's not just about hackers targeting banks and governmental institutions. The threat is there for us, the corrugated industry, as well for the producers of corrugated packaging, as for the suppliers to our plants and groups. In this short podcast series, we present 6 critical questions. Each one is a starting point, a wake-up call. Because if we fail to take the cyber risk seriously, we may become the weakest link in our customer's supply chain. But if we react and act, we can build an industry that is not only sustainable, but also a reliable and secure link in the packaging supply chain. The effort to do this should not be underestimated, but the risk and the impact of doing nothing could be enormous. Let's find out together.
In my view, cybersecurity is an absolute real threat to our industry. We are seeing an ever-increasing numbers of attacks. We see colleagues being attacked on cybersecurity. We're seeing businesses being taken out for extended time in order to recover. So therefore, we as an industry cannot be complacent to that. I would not call it a threat anymore. I would call it a risk.
Yeah, I completely agree, Hans. This is absolutely my opinion too. For I think 3 reasons. The risk that is not well known from the industry, a new kind of risk. Numbers because all the public reports underline the fact that cyber attack is increasing double-digit year after years, and it's a risk that we don't know in reality because it's a new risk, and it's not fire, it's not earthquake, it's something completely different, and we are not used to fight against this kind of risk. Business tends to not to invest or to think to the cyber risk in a good way.
I completely agree. I think one of the big things, the big learnings that I've had is that it's really a long journey that we're on. We really need to start teaching our industry on all different levels that this is actually a risk that we need to be very aware and be very ready to take. And as we all know, it only takes one person to make a mistake in any organization to impact a big part of the organization. So we cannot only do CEOs, we cannot only do MDs, we also need to remember to make also our shop floor workers aware of the risk and the behavior that we expect from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And to evaluate the risk, it's important to give numbers. Mm-hmm. So if we take the ENISA landscape, threat landscape of 2024, or we consider the IBM threat index of 2024, we see that the increase of attack grow year after year, double digit, that manufacturing is the most important industry sectors hit by cyber attack, and the reason is quite simple. Normally, if we for a while put the clothes of an hacker, for them it's better to hit the weakest and not the strongest. So if we think of bank, insurance, utilities, and energy, they already are, let me say, structured for cyber attack. They have invested a lot in the last years, and they are well known the risk and they were known the countermeasures. Manufacturing is not like this. Manufacturing started in the last years to invest a lot in cyber aspects, and from the attacker point of view, is better to hit the weakest and not the strongest. Their objective, their goal is to make money. So hitting the weakest, they make more money.
Yeah, maybe I can say that I think one of the things that maybe makes us a little bit more too much complacent, you can say, is that I know a lot of industries have invested a lot of money in their IT security, but they have completely ignored the very much higher risk that we have in the manufacturing side. Again, we have to remember, we buy very good machines and we run them for an extended lifetime. As I think about, it's not uncommon to have machines that are 30 years old in our industry. And 30 years ago, we were talking about Windows 9.5 as a technology. And actually, some of these machines are still dependent on such an old technology. So that's another big technical debt that we are sitting on as an industry. We're always good at replacing our motors, our drives, our bearings, and so on. We upgrade our machine. We sometimes do tend to forget that there's also a control system element that need to have a proper maintenance.
Yeah. And this is not a fantasy, it's not a movie, it's reality. Just to give you an example, Hans, one of the most important deepfake that happened in the history of Europe was last year at Arup, a giant in the engineering sector in England. They was attacked by a deepfake. A deepfake is a deep impersonation of someone else to steal money. So the attacker, the hacker, impersonated the CFO and succeeded in stealing 20 million of pounds due to fake request of payment in more or less 20 minutes. And this is reality, is a public attack published by Arup last year. So is up to you how to judge this kind of things and evaluate in the right way.
Yeah, I think we have to remember here that very often when we are doing technology, when we're using technology in our industry, we are following rules, we are following certain limitation on what we can do. Hackers don't have any limitation. They use all modern technology. They don't shy off any means of actually getting to their goal, and that's why it's so dangerous for actually all our industries in reality.
Yeah.
Even personally.
Absolutely. The risk is immediate because it's in a transition on-off of our manufacturing footprint. Is, let me say, disrupting because he could propagate from a single PC to hundreds and thousands of PC in a few seconds due to the internet, Ethernet connection, or due to the mailing book of our mailing list, and is multifaceted. Is has implication from the data point of view, the business continuity point of view, the criminal aspect of the attack. So is a completely new risk for us.
As I said, they have no limitation. They're using the infrastructure we have created for all the right reason, and they are willing to exploit that and actually attack us even deeper. So it is a real threat to our industry.
Yes, absolutely, Armin. It's a matter of survival. It's not negotiable. It's not a question of different point of view. It's absolutely mandatory. Cybersecurity investment aspect, risk, it's mandatory for every type, every kind of business. The small one, the medium one, obviously the biggest. This is my point of view based on numbers, the evaluation of the risk, and what we see every day happening in our infrastructure, in our firewall, in our security boundaries. How many times there are tentative of attack, and how many times we survive against them.
First of all, what are the possible consequences of a cyber incident? Loss of production, downtime, loss of end customer reputation, loss of insurability. So is it existential? I don't know. It depends on many different factors. Depends on the severity of the incident. It depends on the size of the organization. And quite obviously, it also depends on the preparedness of the organization. I think probably everybody would agree that this is some type of hassle that you do not want to deal with. You want to avoid it. If we look at the figures that you just mentioned, total average cost of a cyber incident accounts to $4.83 million on average. Better be prepared than not to be prepared.
It's a strange war, let me say. We are maybe prepared, or we have seen before the typical stoppage of our production line. Something broke, an engine, a motor, everything else. Maybe we have not the spare part in our warehouse, and we ask for, let me say, an urgent shipment, maybe by taxi, by everything else, by airplane, and in 2-3 days we have to stop the line and then restart. This is a huge problem for every one of us. We can. There is a sort of sound in our manufacturing footprint that is a sort of knife in the stomach of the operations manager. That is a sort of stop everything. You know, we are maybe we take in consideration that this could happen for one single production line, and we do not think of a cyber attack that could affect every production line in our plant, every plant that we have in our company, and maybe could affect our suppliers and our customer in the same time. In few minutes, we do not take into consideration that we have to stop weeks and not hours or days. So, what will be of our credibility? What will be of our business? What will be of our future reputation with our customers? This is something that we have to take into consideration. As I said, it's not negotiable.
Pretty clearly, each and every corrugated board producer knows quite well its production figures. And if we speak about loss of production, we end up with most likely a 5-digit number. However, still we see in the corrugated board industry one severe cyber incident per quarter. Every 3 months, there is one cyber incident that affects productivity. This tells us investments in cybersecurity are there, particularly on the IT side of things. The question is, are corrugated board producers willing to also invest in OT environments? We have seen cases where decade-old viruses have spread across the organization through the IT enterprise networks without doing any harm, but taking down the corrugator on the shop floor.
We have to develop our state of mind. We have to train ourselves in put more consideration on the typical KPI of the cyber risk, because we are used to manage and to think and evaluate our standard KPI, the overall equipment efficiency, the return of investment of a single production line. Maybe it's not a good investment. Maybe the investment return is not in 3 years, maybe in 5 years, 6 or more. We lose money, okay, or maybe we do not fit exactly the figures that we forecasted some years before. But this is something completely different. these KPIs for the cyber risk put in consideration and put on the table the entire life of the company. Mm-hmm. So if we stop for entire weeks our manufacturing facilities, we have to maybe if our sensible data are put in let me say on the web, maybe there could be issue on the manufacturing footprint. These are absolutely a huge issue compared to the previous one of it's not a good overall equipment efficiency.
So would you consider investments in cybersecurity a fixed cost rather than an opportunity cost?
Absolutely is more than fixed. It's it's not a question of the IT guys. It's not a question of the IT expert. It's a board question because it's a strategic movement. It's not an operational or a day-by-day action. Obviously, there are operational action every day, and there are the operational aspect of a cyber project. But the strategic way, the thinking, and the way you have to improve and to move to enhance the cybersecurity posture, it's a question of the board.
We have a number of customers that have a very high dependency on our reliability of delivering the right product continuously. And therefore, if we are lacking, we have a problem in front of our customers. That's why it's so clear that we need to have a lot of focus on this area. We need to be there. It's clear we are not NIS2, as we know, Daniel. But again, a lot of our customers are NIS2 compliant customers, and therefore it's also critical for these customers that supply is coming completely as planned all the time.
Yeah, absolutely, Hans. There is an important aspect in the NIS2 directive, as we know, that is the accountability of the supply chain. Every company has the responsibility as to be accountable for the entire supply chain. So this is an important aspect. Is done to avoid the propagation of a cyber attack. So we are in one of the main important part of our business is the fast-moving consumer goods. So it's an important supply chain, and we are accountable to ship the right product at the right time when it's requested. So if we are not able to do this, we put in trouble the entire supply chain. And we are not under NIS2 directive, as you already said, but food distribution and production are under NIS2. Water production and distribution are under NIS2. Express courier are under NIS2. From the supply point of view, chemicals, so glue, starch, ink, are under NIS2. Manufacturer of machinery and peripherals are under NIS2. So the entire supply chain, more or less, the great part of it is under NIS2. We are not under NIS2, we are in the situation that we have to talk to the supply chain, assuring them that we are safe as they are.
And I think, Daniel, it would be naive if we as a sector, as an organization, don't actually plan for the fact that we are probably maybe not on NIS2, but maybe when we get to the next revision, NIS3 or NIS2 2027, whatever will come first, I wouldn't be surprised if the corrugated packaging industry will be mandatory under that one. And that's why it's so critical that we already now start thinking about this. We start understanding where are we, so we actually know what kind of work are in front of us that at that time will become mandatory for us in order to operate.
Absolutely. As we have more or less 2 years, all our work goes in that direction. So we hopefully give a signal to the market and to the sector to move on and push for the cyber investment to align their cyber posture to the right one. Yeah,
it's just a matter of time. We need to take it seriously, both for our customers, but certainly also for our own industry. That's why we cannot just do nothing. Absolutely not.
Yeah. And it's quite simple to do it. Someone thinks that they have to invest a million and million of euros and do complicated and complex stuff, but is, let me say, something completely different. Just to start, they do every year already for the ISO 9001 for the standard quality system check. Yep. There is a standard audit every year, more or less, and you have to give an evaluation of every sentence, or you are judged around the checklist. And it's more or less the same what we have done. We have taken the NIS2 framework. That is one of the most important cybersecurity framework in the world, and we have contextualized it to our sector. Due to our experience, and then you only have to judge a single sentence or a single aspect of your company, and then see what is the final number.
Let's not wait. Let's start thinking. I would say there's a few things. Know your infrastructure, know your connectivity, but also at least have made the basic thinking about what do we do if or when we have an incident that needs to be handled. It helps a lot that we don't need to develop our processes, our thinking, when we are standing in the middle of a very big crisis.
Yeah, and the tool is fine because it's not only, let me say, a generic tool or only an instrument. You have to use it inside the process. So we give an evaluation sort of score for 1 to 4, from nothing to the highest value to every control, exactly. And when we check, we analyze the gap. For every sentence, for every control, we estimate due to our, let me say, effort, or maybe asking to our cybersecurity supplier, we estimate a budget to close the gap or to improve. We sum all our investment, and we create a budget for the next year or for the next month. Then we implement the budget, and the next year we check it again, and we create this sort of plan, do, check, act to improve the cybersecurity posture. It's quite easily, and we have already done a lot of time.
No, and I know, Daniel, later you will actually show us how it works. But I think it's really important with the tool because it will give us a temperature. Where are we today? And that's the first step in order to be able to improve our situation. And then I would say each business needs to make their own decision about how fast, how aggressive they want to improve the situation. But the first thing is actually knowing where are we, what's today's objectively measurement. And then, as Daniel said, the process is there to follow. In order to make an objective assessment about where we stand as an industry today, we in the Cybersecurity Workgroup at FEFCO has developed a tool. We have seen many of the standard tools. They are quite complicated and very long, and we have been trying with our industry knowledge to cut them down to what we consider as being the essentials. So the tool that we are using now is actually, in our view, a very, very fittable tool that will help us objectively to understand where are we today. Daniel, I think you have some more things to help us with on that one.
Yeah.
To say on that one.
The idea was not reinventing the wheel and jumping on the shoulder of the giant to see far away. And we decided to choose the NIS2 framework and comparing and including with the IEC 62443. And so we create, taking from this already existing framework, we create an easy-to-use tool, and with a practical and pragmatic approach to contextualize the generalistic framework to our sector. We have done it in collaboration with producer and suppliers, so more than 20 guys, technical guys, working all together. Was absolutely a fantastic project for me.
Good, Daniel. Why don't you show us how it works?
Welcome to this quick guide on the NIST 2.0 cybersecurity checklist in Excel. This tool helps organizations measure where they stand on cybersecurity and identify where improvements are needed. The file contains 3 key sheets. First, the checklist. Here, you will find all the NIST 2.0 categories and controls. For each control, you assign a score across 4 dimensions: policy, processes, communication, and monitoring. This ensures you don't just look at technical measures, but also at how well they are documented, implemented, and embedded in your culture. Second, the evaluation methodology. This sheet explains how the scoring system works. By default, every control starts with a minimum value of 1. As you fill in the checklist, the methodology sheet automatically compiles your scores, giving you a structured overview of your maturity across the 6 NIST functions: govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. All NIST 2.0 controls are categorized as must, suggested, or free. For FEFCO members at an early stage of their cybersecurity journey, the minimum baseline should be to achieve a score of at least 2 on all controls classified as must. And finally, the results sheet. Here, all data is visualized in clear graphs. You can instantly see how your organization performs, where you are strong, and where action is needed. In conclusion, the checklist not only helps you comply with NIST 2.0, it also gives you a common language to discuss cybersecurity internally. The results can be shared with management, used in an awareness session, or as input for your improvement plan.
Actually, I don't think so. In my view, I think that we all know that, or we know that about 70% of all cyber incident is actually caused by human behavior. People clicking on the wrong link, not thinking when they're putting in a USB stick in a device. So I think really, really fundamental for having a higher level of cyber defense in any industry, by the way, is that we train our people. We need to train our people at all different levels in our organization. And it's, of course, very easy to train management. They do a lot of training already. But what is really key is that we also train the people that operate our machines, so they also think safely when they are operating. It's also very important that we train our people operating the machine. It all starts and goes with them. As a good colleague of mine often said, it only takes one person to click on a wrong link, and then we are totally compromised. So,
I believe neither the one is true nor the other. Things cannot go without one another. I believe there are actually 3 pillars. First pillar is practices and patterns, typically reflected in the type of management loop frameworks that we know. In the handbook, we were referring to the NIST 2, which is maybe the umbrella for exactly that. It includes things like education, like training people and creating awareness. So this is the second pillar, quite obviously. So here's the human factor. And we have the third pillar, which is technology, in fact. Technology supports in all the different aspects of the management loop, like identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. So this is where technology comes into play. First of all, technology can limit the negative impact of human failure.
Absolutely.
And it also can ease certain steps, for example, when it comes to identifying assets, when it comes to responding to incident and recovering, of course.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, of course, it's not a black and white. It's both sides that we have to cover. And I think your point about that technology can actually help us if we do a mistake from the human side, that's a very, very valid point. So.
The rule of thumb is somehow don't do silly things that you would not do in private life.
No,
also,
absolutely not.
So professional life and acting at the workplace is in no way different as you would deal with your home computer, your smart devices, and so on.
Yeah.
But we live in an interconnected world. That's for sure. And it's easier than ever to do a mistake. Nobody's prone to that. And yeah, this is where, for example, things like network segmentation done by a firewall or a router can help, and things like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Let's not I didn't want to underestimate the technology impact, of course, but it's very clear that awareness is absolutely a key point about it. Also, because we are talking about a new risk here, and I'm thinking a little bit back on our industry where how much we actually have evolved on health and safety over the last 25 years. We have taken a fantastic journey, and actually, I hope that we can do it faster. But I'm also sure that we will have a journey that we have to take on educating people, making people behave more safe in the whole environment.
Yeah, good point. Is it a management task, yes or no? Most likely, yes. Action needs to start from the very top. And here I see two responsibilities of upper management. One is to make sure that proper security architectures, also in the OT domain, are put in place. And secondly, of course, education and training of the employees.
So I think in sum, how I would say that we need both to focus on our people and we need to focus on the right technology and deploy it the right way.
In fact, very little people are doing this today, I believe.
Yeah.
Of course, it depends on the size of the organization. But despite upcoming legislation, relationships between producers and suppliers are marked by very strict purchasing conditions, by overarching information security agreements and such forth. The question is, however, is this going into the right direction? Isn't all this paperwork hindering business? Is it an obstacle to investment decisions and even innovation, maybe?
You could think so.
And this is why we came up with the idea to simplify things. Of course, trust comes not for free. That's certainly clear. But all this paperwork isn't worth nothing when it really comes to a cybersecurity incident. It's not worth the paper that it's written on. And therefore, we were thinking about other means of simplifying relationships between suppliers and producers. First of all, giving certain guidelines and recommendations, what should be in an information security agreement and what shouldn't. And secondly, the supplier declaration of conformity.
Yeah, and I think it helps a lot because the documents are clarifying a lot of questions also to the producer side, because very often, I would say, if you're not working in this area all the time, some of the questions that actually are quite important for setting up the right level of security, the right measures, is actually tricky to understand. And I would say a more harmonized approach from suppliers will, of course, be very much appreciated by us producers, because it will be we will be sure that we are well covered in what we actually have in the contracts in the future.
I think we can be happy with what we have elaborated as the supplier declaration of conformity. We must not forget there were up to 10 suppliers involved in this initiative.
Absolutely, I think great support from everybody here. Yeah,
and the goal that we had, if we remember our original goal, we wanted to create a low threshold, easy to use, practical, hands-on, non-checkbox oriented exercise that can put producers in the position to easily qualify their suppliers and to establish trust through these means, which is actually much more real life as the relatively abstract information security agreements.
No, I completely agree about the goal about it, and I think we've gone very, very far with the document that exists now. It will help us all, and again, as I said, it will also help creating the right level of awareness on the producer side, so we actually are setting up the right settings on our side as well, because as everything else here, this is not an us or them, it's us and them. We need to work together in order to ensure that we have the right level of security, also in our manufacturing area.
We are all in this together.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And those areas that we picked in a first step, I think they were the right ones. We are speaking about remote connectivity. We are speaking about interconnectivity in a plant. We are speaking about physical access. We are speaking about the data as a service use case.
I strongly believe that we have covered all the essentials in that one, and it's a really, really good starting point. My big concern here is, of course, that this is all good when we buy new machines. The reality in our industry is, of course, as you know, we have a lot of old machines which are probably under a relatively poor contractual level when it comes to cybersecurity. And of course, that is something that we should all be aware about, that we have that risk sitting with us. But I think it's a very good step forward that we have started now.
That's true, and I'm fully aware of the fact that this is one of your major key points, maybe the biggest one. And I'm very happy about the fact that we put guidelines for dealing with legacy systems into the handbook. Of course, I particularly like the last point of this chapter, which says, protection of legacy assets can only happen in collaboration between suppliers and producers.
And I couldn't agree more about that one. This is another set of collaboration.
So let's take it from there.
Fully agree.